Lady in Belize is a powerful Caribbean romance inspired by the classic story Pretty Woman. Set in the vibrant heart of Belize City, this emotional drama follows Shanice, a tough and resourceful young woman struggling to survive, and Darius, a wealthy foreign investor trying to escape his past. When their paths cross one rainy night, an unexpected deal pulls them into a whirlwind of passion, betrayal, danger, and healing. With strong characters, dramatic twists, and heartfelt moments, this is more than a love story. It's a tale of transformation, redemption, and rising from the ashes. Before we get into our story, I would like to invite you to subscribe to my channel. Become a part of the community that enjoy clean, fun stories. And after watching my story, comment so I would know your thoughts and share it with your friends. I thank you for your support. Enjoy. The night draped Belize City like a damp, heavy sheet. Rain fell in a fine mist, blurring the neon signs of corner shops and bouncing off potholes in the cracked pavement. Shanice Young stood on the corner of Albert Street, arms folded against the sticky air, one heel slightly lifted from the soaked ground. Her flip-flops were near broken, and her denim shorts were a bit too tight at the waist, but she had no time to worry about comfort. She had bigger problems. Her stomach growled quietly. She hadn't eaten a proper meal in 2 days, just a dry bun and some hot water with lime. Rent was due next week. Her 10-year-old sister Cassie's shoes had holes in them, and her cafe job cut her hours again that morning. Shanice's chest ached with frustration. She checked her cracked phone. No messages, no missed calls, just a blinking 11:49 p.m. A black SUV crawled down the street and slowed to a stop beside her. The tinted passenger window rolled down with a low mechanical hum. "Excuse me," said a man's voice. Warm, deep, refined. "I'm trying to get to the Radisson. Can you help me?" Shanice looked inside. The driver was tall, dark golden-skinned, clean-shaven, with high cheekbones and eyes like dusk. He wore a navy suit, crisply pressed even in the heat. She pegged him instantly. Foreign, rich, maybe British Caribbean. Definitely out of his element. She lifted her chin. "You sure you supposed to be down here, big man? This area don't usually get fancy wheels like yours." He looked around, then back at her. "I took a wrong turn off Marine Parade. GPS stopped working. You lucky I found you, not somebody else. This part of town don't play fair after dark." "I'm Darius," he said. "Can I trust you?" She stared at him for a beat, then smirked. 50 Belize and I'll be your human GPS. He chuckled, surprised. "For directions?" "For keeping you alive on the way there." He hesitated, then hit the unlock button. "Deal." Shanice hopped in, still holding her dignity like armor. The leather seats were cool against her thighs. She adjusted herself and gave him a quick look. "Turn left up ahead." "Not that road. Too dark. Go round the back of St. John's Cathedral. Safer that way." Darius followed her instructions word for word, impressed by her confidence. "You do this often?" he asked. "Help lost strangers? Nah, but when life got bills and no fairy godmother, you learn how to survive. You're sharp." "Sharp don't pay rent, but it keeps me from getting robbed." A motorcycle passed them slowly, then looped around and began trailing the SUV. Shanice leaned forward. "That bike?" "He been behind us too long. Step on it." Darius frowned but pressed the pedal gently. The SUV gained speed. The bike turned off at the next junction. She exhaled. "Some people don't follow you for the view." When they reached the bright, polished facade of the Radisson, Darius reached for his wallet. "Here, thanks for the ride." She looked at the cash, then waved it away. "Keep it. Consider it a free lesson in city survival." She opened the door and paused. "But if you need a guide who knows what's real, you know where to find me." He smiled. "I might just take you up on that." She disappeared into the night, but her presence lingered in his car like the citrus scent of her cheap perfume, bold, stubborn, unforgettable. The next morning was already too hot by 8 a.m. The air hung thick over Belize City, and the scent of baking asphalt mixed with the sugary tang of ripe mangoes from a nearby vendor's cart. Shanice stood behind the counter at Miss Rena's cafe, wiping down a chipped laminated menu. Her mind was far away, on the man from the SUV. She hadn't expected to think about him again. He was just a blip on her chaotic night, a stranger with a smooth accent and a clean smile. But his voice kept echoing in her head. "Can I trust you?" The cafe bell jingled. She turned, cloth in hand. Darius Bennett walked in, freshly pressed in a light blue button-down and dark slacks, looking as polished as if he stepped out of a magazine. Shanice's eyes widened. "You again?" she said, folding her arms. "You following me now?" He smiled. "I never forget people who saved my life, or my money. Money you tried to give me for free." He nodded. "That's why I'm here with a real offer. 1 week. Come with me to events. Pretend to be my girlfriend. Just appearances. You'll be compensated well. 5,000 Belize." Shanice blinked. The number hit her like cold water. 5,000? "What's the catch?" she asked, voice guarded. "No catch. I need someone who can blend in, handle pressure, and shut down rich fools with one look. You're perfect." She studied him. "You want me to play dress-up and smile for photos?" "Yes. No touching unless you say so. No expectations. Just business." Just then her boss called from the back. "Shanice, we cutting hours again, girl." Her fists clenched at her sides. She looked back at Darius. "I don't do fake well," she warned. "That's why I chose you." A long pause passed between them. Then Shanice slowly nodded. "All right. But don't fall for me. That'll cost extra." Darius laughed, the sound unexpectedly boyish. "Noted." As he handed her a white business card, their fingers touched briefly. "Electricity." Shanice pulled back first. "Pick me up tomorrow," she said coolly, "if you're still serious." "Wear something comfortable. We're going shopping." She raised an eyebrow. "You really think I'm going to let you choose what I wear?" "I'd be terrified to try." As he left, Shanice exhaled slowly. She had no idea what she was stepping into, but something told her this was more than a job. It was the beginning of a storm. The next day dawned brighter, almost as if the sky itself knew something had shifted. Shanice stood outside a boutique near Brody's department store, clutching a small envelope of crisp bills Darius had given her. She stared at the glass storefront, nervous energy coiled inside her like a spring. When she pushed open the door, a bell chimed delicately. The store was too white, too clean. A tall woman in a fitted navy blazer glanced up from behind the counter and gave her a slow once-over. "Can I help you?" the woman asked, the tone suggesting she doubted it. "I have money," Shanice said, flashing the envelope. "Looking for a dress." "Business function." The woman forced a smile. "Of course. The clearance rack is in the back." Shanice's chin lifted. "I said business function, not bus stop." Still, she walked toward the back, brushing past racks of dresses, ignoring the sales clerk's eyes burning into her skin. After trying on 3 that were either too tight or too tacky, she saw it. A sleek navy gown with a halter neckline and a slit that hinted, not screamed. She slipped it on in the changing room, then turned slowly in the mirror. For a moment she didn't recognize herself. She looked powerful, stunning. "Found something?" Darius's voice called from beyond the curtain. She startled. "You in the dressing room, too?" "No, but I brought backup." He stepped out. He stood waiting with a personal stylist and a shoebox. His eyes widened. "Wow." She smirked. "Keep it together, boss man." The stylist handed her a pair of strappy silver heels. As she stepped into them, Shanice felt like she was stepping into another world. That evening, they pulled up at Riverside Hall, which had been converted into a luxury event space for a tourism industry gala. As they walked in, the buzz of elite chatter softened. All eyes turned. Shanice walked in beside Darius like she owned the room. She held her head high, chin out, shoulders back. Her heels clicked confidently against the floor, each step a declaration. But the whispers still came. "Who is she? She from the South Side?" She doesn't belong here. Look at her dress, though. Must have cost a paycheck and a prayer." Darius bent slightly toward her. "You okay?" "I've been talked about since I was 10, she said under her breath. "This is just a fancier crowd doing the same thing." He touched her elbow gently. "To me, you outshine all of them." She almost smiled. Until one older woman, heavy jewelry dripping from every limb, stepped forward and asked, "And where exactly did you say you're from, dear?" Shanice met her eyes without blinking. "From the place you try not to drive through after dark." The woman froze. Darius chuckled. They moved on. Later, as the night wore down and the wine flowed, Darius led her out to the patio where soft reggae played beneath twinkling lights. The harbor behind them sparkled. "You handled that well," he said. "I've had practice. Being underestimated is my sport." He looked at her thoughtfully. "You're not who I expected." She turned to face him. "You either." He stepped closer, but she pulled away. "Don't catch feelings, remember?" she said. "That'll cost extra." He laughed, but there was a flicker of something deeper in his eyes. As they stood under the stars, the tension between them buzzed, unspoken, undeniable, and dangerous. By Thursday morning, Belize City was buzzing with humid tension and thunderclouds on the horizon. Darius had canceled his afternoon meetings and sent Shanice a cryptic text. "Pack light. Meet me at the airstrip." When she arrived at the small Tropic Air terminal, Shanice wore jeans, flats, and an oversized t-shirt. Her suitcase was small, but her heart raced with anticipation. The thought of leaving the city, even for a night, gave her lungs more room to breathe. Darius was already there, leaning against the railing in sunglasses and a linen shirt. He waved her over. "You ready?" he asked. "I'm always ready. Where are we going?" "San Pedro. We need a change of pace." She blinked. "You flying me out?" He grinned. "Consider it part of the deal." They boarded a small Cessna, and Shanice tried to hide her nerves as the plane lifted off. She clutched the armrest. "You good?" Darius asked. "I think my stomach's still on the ground," he chuckled. "First time flying?" "First time leaving the city." The island of Ambergris Key came into view like something out of a postcard. The ocean was 1,000 shades of turquoise. Palm trees lined the coast. Darius arranged for a golf cart to take them to a beachfront villa. White walls, open balcony, a hammock swinging gently. She stared in disbelief. "This place real?" "Just for one night," he said. "Let's enjoy it." The next 24 hours blurred like a dream. They rode bikes along the beach, ate lobster tacos at Elvie's Kitchen, and swam beneath a sky full of stars. On the second night, they sat on the dock, feet in the warm water. "I can't believe this is my life right now," Shanice said. "You deserve good things," Darius replied. She looked away. "Nobody ever told me that before." A silence settled between them. Then Darius spoke. "My ex-fiancé left me a year ago. Said I didn't know how to love someone. Said I was more loyal to money than people." Shanice raised an eyebrow. Was she wrong? "Maybe not," he admitted. She hesitated, then said, "I got secrets too. Things you probably wouldn't like. I didn't hire you to be perfect." She nodded slowly. "When I was 17, I got arrested. Took the blame for something I didn't do. My boyfriend back then, he ran. I spent a month in jail. People still call me criminal when they think I can't hear." Darius looked at her with no trace of judgment. "I see you," he said. "All of you." She blinked fast. "You keep saying things like that. We're going to have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The emotional kind." He laughed, deep and genuine. "I think I'm okay with that." She pushed his shoulder gently, but her smile lingered. What she didn't know, what neither of them knew, was that a camera had followed them to San Pedro, and someone from Darius's world wasn't happy about what they were seeing. Back in Belize City, reality waited like a shadow behind the sunshine. Shanice unlocked her apartment door late Saturday night, still humming a tune from San Pedro. The salty breeze, Darius's laugh, the way the stars looked from the dock, they all lingered like perfume. She dropped her bag on the couch, pulled off her sandals, and headed for the fridge. Then she froze. The front window curtain had been moved. A faint whiff of cologne she didn't own hung in the air. Her heart started pounding. She turned around, and there he was, Javon, leaning against the doorway to her kitchen, arms folded, gold chain gleaming against his chest. "Long time, Shan. You look upscale." Her breath caught in her throat. "How did you get in here?" "Still keep the spare key under the flower pot, huh?" She stepped back. "You need to go." He grinned. "After all I'd done for you, that's how you greet me?" "I don't owe you anything, Javon." "You owe me everything. I made you. I protected you when no one else would. You used me. Then you ran when the cops came." His smile faltered. "Now you walking round in fancy heels, flying to islands with rich men. But don't forget where you came from." "What do you want?" He stepped closer, voice low and cold. 10,000 Belize, or your boyfriend gets a nice little package. Photos, arrest records, your love letters to me. All of it." Her voice shook. "He knows who I am." "You sure?" He dropped a manila envelope on her couch. "Just in case you forgot what I'm capable of." He walked out, leaving the door open behind him. Shanice stood trembling, surrounded by ghosts. Sunday came with the sky as gray as Shanice's mood. Her head throbbed with tension, and her hands trembled as she clutched the manila envelope Javon had left. She hadn't opened it. She didn't need to. She knew exactly what was inside. She debated calling Darius, telling him everything, but the words wouldn't come. That afternoon, Darius picked her up in his SUV, oblivious to the storm swirling in her chest. He looked effortlessly handsome as always, in a charcoal blazer and rolled sleeves. She wore a deep green dress and flats, unable to look him in the eye for too long. They drove to Belmopan for a high-level brunch with government officials. Darius was there to finalize a hotel development deal, one that would give him serious stakes in Belize's tourism sector. Shanice was his arm candy. Polished, poised, perfect. The venue was a villa nestled on a hill, all glass and greenery. Waiters floated by with champagne. Cameras clicked. Darius shook hands with ministers and investors. Shanice smiled, nodded, played her role. Then a man in a tan blazer approached Darius discreetly and slipped something into his palm, a sealed envelope. "Background check," the man whispered. "You asked for it." Darius frowned. "I didn't—" The man was already gone. Darius opened the envelope slowly, away from the crowd. Shanice, watching him from a distance, saw his face change. His jaw tightened, eyes narrowed. Inside, a copy of her arrest record, old photos of her with Javon, a scanned love letter from when she was 17. He found her near the balcony. "Can we talk?" She followed him into a quiet hallway. "Is this true?" he asked, holding the papers. Shanice's stomach dropped. "Yes, but it's not the whole story. You didn't think to tell me? I was scared you'd look at me like everyone else does." "I looked at you like someone I could trust." She stepped back, hurt flaring in her chest. "You think you're so different, but you still believe papers over people." He hesitated. "I just need time." Shanice shook her head. "Of course you do. Men like you always do. You get to run. I never had that option." She walked past him, holding her tears until she reached the curb. He didn't follow. That night, the rain came in sheets, pelting the city like a warning from the heavens. Shanice sat on her couch, staring at the unopened manila envelope on her coffee table. Her phone buzzed with a message from Darius, but she didn't open it. What could he say now that would make a difference? Her heart ached, not from guilt, but from disappointment. She had trusted him. She had let herself believe, even for a second, that someone like him could see past the scars of her past. She should have known better. The knock on her door was thunderous. She jumped. When she opened it, her neighbor, Miss Eloise, stood there, eyes wide and breathless. "Shanice! Fire! Come quick!" Shanice bolted outside barefoot, rain slicking her face. Flames licked at the back of the small storefront she'd quietly been renting. Her dream boutique, Royal Roots. She had saved every extra dollar from her cafe job and Darius's payments to open it next month. Now it was engulfed in smoke and fire. A few neighbors tried dousing it with buckets of water, but the damage was already done. The smell of burning fabric and wood filled the air. Fire trucks wailed in the distance. "No, no, no," Shanice whispered, falling to her knees. "This can't be happening." Cassie appeared beside her, soaked to the bone. "Shan, what happened?" Shanice pulled her sister into her arms. Her voice broke. "It's all gone, baby. Everything." Through the haze of smoke and tears, she saw spray paint scrawled on the wall in red. "You don't get to forget." Her world, once fragile and flickering, now crumbled into ash, and all she could do was scream into the storm. Darius didn't sleep that night. He sat in his hotel suite, still wearing the blazer from the brunch, the envelope with Shanice's past lying open on the glass coffee table like a wound. The city lights blinked beyond the window, but he saw none of it. Instead, he replayed everything she said, the fire in her voice, the pain in her eyes, the pride she carried even when the world tried to break her. He took a long drink of rum, a habit he'd abandoned months ago. For the first time in years, he felt something like shame. He had come to Belize to seal a deal, to expand his empire. Instead, he met a woman who reminded him of who he used to be before the money, before the betrayals, before he learned how to mask his heart. He scrolled through photos on his phone. A picture of Shanice laughing in San Pedro. Another of her holding Cassie's hand outside the cafe. He closed his eyes. She hadn't lied. She had survived. And he had walked away. He picked up the phone and called his assistant. "Cancel the hotel project. I'm withdrawing." There was a stunned silence. "Sir?" "I said cancel it. I'm done making money from places where I ignore the people." He hung up, then picked up his keys. As he stepped out into the rain, he passed a florist and bought the biggest bouquet they had. Then he called in a favor from a local horse-drawn carriage tour guide. By sunrise, he was on his way to Ladyville, with flowers, with regret, and a heart ready to do what money never could, fight for love. Morning light broke over Ladyville with the hush of calm after chaos. The storm had passed, but puddles still shimmered on the dirt road outside Shanice's modest home. She sat on the porch in her mother's old rocking chair, wrapped in a blanket, staring into nothing. Cassie was still asleep inside, curled up on the couch. The smell of smoke lingered in Shanice's clothes, in her hair, in her chest. She had nothing left. No boutique, no trust, no Darius. Until the sound of hooves broke the silence. She sat up, blinking. Was she hallucinating? A white horse-drawn carriage rounded the corner and stopped right in front of her house. Darius stepped out in a navy shirt, sleeves rolled, holding a giant bouquet of tropical blooms. His face was soaked, not with rain, but with nerves. Shanice rose slowly, barefoot on the wet step. What is this?" "I didn't come here to fix things," he said. "I came because I can't stand one more day knowing I hurt the best person I've ever met." She folded her arms, heart thumping. "So you brought a horse?" "You said you stopped dreaming," he said. "So I brought a storybook, for us to start one." She stared at him, torn between fury and longing. "You didn't believe me. You walked away." "I was scared. Not of your past, of what it meant to truly love someone, but I'm done running." Tears welled in her eyes. "You sure?" "Because I don't come easy. I come with fire and scars, and a little sister who needs shoes." He stepped closer, voice trembling. "Then let me stay. Let me be part of your fire." She looked down, shaking her head, but then she laughed, a broken, beautiful laugh, and threw the blanket aside. "Fine," she said, stepping off the porch. "But if you ever doubt me again, I swear I'll make that horse run you over." Darius smiled and opened his arms. She walked into them without hesitation. Neighbors peeked through curtains. Miss Eloise clapped from next door. The sun rose fully then, lighting them like a promise. 6 months later, the Royal Roots Boutique stood proudly on a bustling street in Belize City. Inside, hand-woven fabrics, Afro-Caribbean prints, and ethically sourced accessories lined the walls. The scent of lemongrass and vanilla floated through the air. Behind the counter stood Shanice, radiant in a sunflower yellow dress, her curls framing her face like a crown. She rang up a customer with a smile that came from deeper than joy. It came from peace. Cassie, now thriving in school with a new backpack and fresh shoes, sat in the back corner with a book. Every now and then, she looked up to grin at her sister. Darius had kept his promise. He'd stayed. He didn't just support her, he partnered with her. After withdrawing from his hotel deal, he launched a mentorship program for young entrepreneurs from underserved neighborhoods. He called it Roots and Wings. Together, they hosted workshops at the boutique every Friday. Shanice taught business budgeting. Darius spoke about vision and impact. But it was their love that drew the biggest crowds. The way he looked at her when she talked, the way she touched his arm when she laughed. They married on a dock in Key Calker, barefoot, with the sea kissing their ankles. Shanice wore a dress she sewed herself. Cassie scattered hibiscus petals. The guests danced until the moon was high. Shanice was no longer the girl waiting for miracles. She was the woman who dared to create her own. And Darius? He was the man who learned that real power wasn't in money, but in the courage to change. Their story, born in the rain and raised in the fire, became one that inspired others to believe, because sometimes the prettiest woman in the room is the one who fought hardest to stand in it. True love doesn't come from perfection. It comes from vulnerability, resilience, and the courage to embrace someone's full story. No matter your past, you deserve a future filled with dignity, purpose, and someone who chooses you even when it's hard.